My name is Chris, and at 57 years old, I just buried my wife Dorothy after 32 years of marriage. Standing beside her grave, I held a secret she'd left me. A second house, $480,000, and the quiet certainty that I'd need both very soon. My son didn't know. Neither did his wife. Dorothy made me promise to stay silent, and now I understand why. Before I tell you what happened next, I'd love to know where you're watching from. If you've ever had to protect yourself from family, hit that like button. Subscribe, because this story shows why sometimes silence is the smartest thing you can say. Now let me take you back to the day everything changed. I met Dorothy when I was 25 years old at a small coffee shop in Portland. She was working part-time as a waitress while finishing her nursing degree. I remember walking in on a rainy Tuesday morning, shaking water off my jacket, and there she was behind the counter. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she had this way of smiling that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. Not the kind of beautiful that stops traffic, but the kind that grows on you until you can't imagine looking at anything else. We talked for maybe 10 minutes that first day. I ordered black coffee and a blueberry muffin. She told me the muffins were day old, but still good if you warmed them up. Something about her honesty struck me. No pretense, no games, just straightforward kindness. I came back the next day, and the day after that. By the end of the month, I'd asked her to dinner. By the end of the year, I'd asked her to marry me. Dorothy said yes on a cold December evening. We were walking through the park near her apartment, snow just starting to fall. I didn't have a fancy ring or a rehearsed speech. I just stopped under a street lamp and told her I couldn't picture my life without her. She cried and laughed at the same time, breath puffing white in the freezing air. We got married 3 months later in a small ceremony with maybe 30 people. Those early years were simple. I worked as a construction engineer, pulling decent pay, but nothing extravagant. Dorothy took a position at the county hospital, working 3 12-hour shifts a week. We bought a modest house in the suburbs, a 3-bedroom place with a yard that needed work. I spent weekends fixing the fence and planting grass. Dorothy painted the kitchen yellow because she said it made mornings feel warmer. 2 years into our marriage, Bradley was born. 7 pounds 9 ounces, with a full head of dark hair and lungs that could wake the neighborhood. Dorothy transformed overnight into this fiercely protective mother. She'd stay up all night when he was sick, rocking him in the nursery, while singing old lullabies her grandmother taught her. I'd find them both asleep in the rocking chair at dawn, her arms wrapped tight around him. Bradley was our only child. We'd talked about having more, but Dorothy had complications after his birth. The doctors said another pregnancy would be risky, so we poured everything into raising him. Maybe too much. Looking back, I can see how we spoiled him. Dorothy especially. If he wanted something, she'd find a way to make it happen. New bicycle. She'd pick up extra shifts, summer camp. She'd save for months. I tried to balance it out, teaching him about responsibility and hard work. I'd take him to job sites, show him how buildings came together from nothing. But Dorothy would undercut me, telling him he didn't need to work construction, that he was smart enough for something better. She meant well. She wanted him to have opportunities we didn't. But somewhere along the way, Bradley learned that wanting something was the same as deserving it. He did well in school, I'll give him that. Smart kid. Graduated high school with honors, went to state college on a partial scholarship. Studied business and real estate. Met a girl named Amanda during his junior year. She came from money, or at least acted like she did. First time Dorothy and I met her, she looked around our house with this expression I couldn't quite read. Not disgust, exactly. More like calculation. They got married 2 years after graduation. Big wedding mostly paid for by Amanda's parents. Dorothy cried through the whole ceremony. Happy tears, she said. I wasn't so sure. Something about the way Bradley looked at Amanda worried me. Like he was always trying to impress her, always trying to prove he belonged in her world. They had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Cute children. But we hardly ever saw them. Bradley and Amanda lived across town in a newer development. They were always too busy to visit. Too many soccer games and dance recitals and playdates. Dorothy would call every week trying to set up dinners. Bradley always had an excuse. Amanda's tone on the phone was polite but distant, like she was talking to strangers instead of family. About 5 years ago, something shifted. Bradley started asking questions about our finances, not in a concerned way, more clinical, professional. "Dad, have you thought about estate planning?" he asked one Sunday when they'd actually come for dinner. Dorothy was in the kitchen making coffee. I was helping him carry dishes to the sink. "Not really," I told him. "Your mother and I are healthy. We'll get to it eventually." He frowned, loading plates into the dishwasher with careful precision. "You should do it sooner rather than later. Property values are climbing. You don't want the government taking a huge chunk when the time comes." I didn't like how he phrased it. When the time comes, like he was waiting for something. But I brushed it off. He worked in real estate. Money talk was his language. Over the next few months, he brought it up again and again. Always casual, always framed as concern. "Have you updated your will? Do you have a trust set up? What's your plan for the house?" Dorothy noticed too. One night after they left, she sat beside me on the couch. "He's worried about inheritance," she said quietly. "Maybe he's just trying to help," I offered, though I didn't believe it. She shook her head. "He's counting, adding up what he thinks we're worth." She reached over and squeezed my hand. "Don't worry, I'll handle it." I trusted her completely. Dorothy had always managed our finances. She was good with numbers, careful with spending, smart about saving. If she said she'd handle it, I knew she would. 2 years ago, everything changed. Dorothy started feeling tired all the time. She blamed it on her shifts at the hospital, said she was just getting older. But I noticed she'd lost weight. Her skin looked grey. When she finally agreed to see a doctor, I knew she'd been putting it off because she was scared. The diagnosis came on a Thursday afternoon in late September. Pancreatic cancer stage 3. The oncologist was a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice. She explained the prognosis carefully, using words like aggressive and limited options. She gave Dorothy between 1 and 2 years, maybe longer, with treatment. I felt the world tilt sideways. Dorothy sat perfectly still in the chair beside me, hands folded in her lap. After the doctor left, she turned to me. "We need to prepare Chris." "For treatment," I said quickly. "We'll fight this." "Yes," she agreed. "But we also need to prepare for after, for when I'm gone." I couldn't talk about it. The thought of losing her crushed something inside my chest. But Dorothy was practical even in crisis. Over the next few weeks, while starting chemotherapy, she began putting affairs in order. She met with lawyers. She organized files. She spent hours on her laptop, scrolling through websites I couldn't see. "Just handling paperwork," she'd say when I asked, "making sure everything's documented." I didn't press. Watching her suffer through treatment was hard enough. The chemo made her sick. She lost her hair. Her energy disappeared. But through it all, she maintained this quiet determination. Like she was on a mission only she understood. Sometimes she'd leave the house for hours, saying she had appointments. I assumed she meant with doctors or lawyers. I offered to come along, but she'd kiss my forehead and tell me to rest. "You need to save your strength for later," she'd say. Looking back, I see what she meant. One afternoon, I found her studying a real estate flyer. When I walked into the room, she quickly folded it and slipped it into her purse. "Just looking," she said with a small smile. "Wondering what houses go for these days." I thought maybe she wanted to downsize, make things easier for me after she was gone. The idea hurt too much to discuss, so I let it go. Bradley started visiting more often after we told him about the cancer. At first, I was grateful. I thought maybe his mother's illness would remind him what mattered. But his visits felt wrong. He'd spend 5 minutes asking how Dorothy felt, then start wandering through the house, touching things, looking at walls, checking corners. Amanda came too, trailing behind him with her phone out, taking pictures. "Just memories," she claimed when Dorothy asked. But I caught her zooming in on the crown molding the hardwood floors, the updated kitchen counters we'd installed 3 years earlier. Bradley's questions got more direct. "Mum, where do you keep all the important documents? Have you updated your will? Is the house title clear, or is there still a mortgage?" Dorothy answered patiently, but I could see the sadness in her eyes. Her son wasn't asking out of love. He was taking inventory. One evening after they left, I found Dorothy crying in the bedroom. Not from pain, though I knew she had plenty of that. This was different. Deeper. "He's my son," she whispered. "I raised him. How did he become this?" I held her, feeling helpless. Maybe we're reading too much into it. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "No. Amanda's already calculating. I heard her in the kitchen telling Bradley this house could sell for at least 400,000. She said it like I wasn't even there, like I was already dead." That night I wanted to confront Bradley, tell him to back off, show some respect. But Dorothy stopped me. "Let it play out," she said. "I have a plan." 3 months before she died, Dorothy's condition worsened rapidly. The doctors said the cancer had spread. Treatment options were exhausted. We moved a hospital bed into our bedroom. Hospice nurses came daily. Dorothy slept more and more, her body finally giving up the fight. One night she woke me around 2 in the morning. The house was completely silent, except for the hum of the oxygen machine. "Chris," she whispered, "come here." I moved to her bedside immediately. In the dim light from the hallway, her face looked impossibly small. Skin stretched tight over bones, but her eyes were sharp, alert. She reached under her pillow and pulled out a small key and a sealed envelope. "Take these," she said, pressing them into my palm. "Don't open the envelope until after I'm gone. And don't tell anyone about it. Not Bradley. Not Amanda. No one." "Dorothy, what is this protection?" she said simply. "I've taken care of everything. You just need to trust me. Promise me you'll stay quiet no matter what happens." "I promise." She smiled, then the first real smile I'd seen in weeks. "You'll understand soon. Bradley is going to show you exactly who he is. When he does, you'll be ready." I wanted to ask more questions, but she'd already closed her eyes, exhausted from the effort. I sat there holding the key and envelope, completely confused, but absolutely certain that Dorothy knew exactly what she was doing. The funeral took place on a cool October morning. Grey clouds hung low, threatening rain, but never quite delivering. The cemetery was one of those old ones with tall trees and stone markers weathered by decades. Dorothy had picked the spot herself months earlier, practical to the end. There weren't many people. A handful of Dorothy's former co-workers from the hospital. some neighbors we'd known for years, a few distant relatives who made the drive. Bradley and Amanda arrived in their new SUV, both dressed in expensive black. Bradley wore a tailored suit that probably cost more than our monthly mortgage payment. Amanda's dress looked like something from a magazine. I stood beside the casket, barely hearing the minister's words. Everything felt unreal, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. People came by afterwards, squeezing my hand, murmuring condolences. I nodded and thanked them, operating on autopilot. Bradley stood a few feet away, talking quietly with Amanda. I caught fragments of their conversation. Something about property assessments and market timing. At my wife's funeral, my son was discussing real estate values. After everyone left, after they lowered Dorothy into the ground, Bradley approached me. "Dad, why don't you come back to the house? You shouldn't be alone." "I need to walk," I said. Amanda touched his arm. "Let him grieve. We'll come by tonight." True to their word, they showed up around 7 that evening. I was sitting in the living room, still wearing my funeral suit, staring at nothing. Bradley let himself in with the key we'd given him years ago. They found me in the dark, hadn't even thought to turn on the lights. Amanda flipped a switch. The sudden brightness hurt my eyes. "Dad, you need to eat something," she said, not unkindly. I brought casserole. I wasn't hungry. Hadn't been hungry in months. But I nodded, and we sat around the kitchen table, picking at food none of us wanted. The silence stretched awkwardly. Finally, Bradley cleared his throat. "Dad, we need to talk about practical matters." I looked at him. His face showed concern, but his eyes were calculating, measuring, planning. "I know it's hard to think about this now," he continued, "but there are things that need handling. Mom's affairs, the estate. We should meet with the lawyer soon." "Your mother already arranged everything with her attorney," I said quietly. "I'm meeting with him next week." "Good. That's good." Bradley leaned forward. "I assume she left a will." "Yes." "And the house?" Amanda asked, then caught herself. "I mean, I'm sure she specified what should happen with the property." I met her gaze. For just a second, I saw something flicker there. Anticipation. Greed. "She specified everything." Bradley relaxed slightly. "That's responsible of her, making it clear, avoiding confusion." Amanda touched his hand, a gesture that looked affectionate, but felt coordinated. "This house is really too big for you now, don't you think? 3 bedrooms, all this yard work. It's a lot for one person." "I've managed fine." "For now," Bradley said. "But long term, Dad, you're almost 60. Maintaining a place this size gets harder. Have you thought about downsizing?" There it was. Not even 12 hours after burying his mother, and Bradley was already planning to move me out. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Dorothy had been right. "We could help you find something smaller," Amanda added. "More manageable. A nice condo, maybe. Or an apartment." "I'll think about it," I said, just to end the conversation. They stayed another hour making plans I didn't listen to, talking about logistics I didn't care about. When they finally left, I sat in the empty house and thought about Dorothy's envelope. I waited until midnight. Don't know why. Maybe some superstitious part of me thought I should wait until it was technically the next day. I retrieved the envelope from where I'd hidden it in my sock drawer. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter, written in Dorothy's careful handwriting. I recognized the pen she'd used, a blue ballpoint she kept in her purse. "My dearest Chris," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm no longer with you. I'm so sorry for that. Sorry I have to leave you alone. But I'm not leaving you unprepared. I've watched Bradley change over the years, watched him become someone I don't recognize. I know what he's planning. I know he sees our house as his inheritance, not as your home. I know Amanda has been calculating its worth since the day they got married. So I've made arrangements. 5 years ago, I inherited money from my Aunt Helen. You remember her, the one who never married and lived in Boston. She left me almost $600,000. I never told Bradley. I never told anyone except my lawyer. I used that money carefully. I bought a house, a small place across town near Riverside Park. It's in your name only. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, but it has a nice yard and good light. I've kept it maintained. It's waiting for you. I also opened an investment account and put the rest of the money there. It's grown to $480,000. That's yours too. Everything is arranged with my attorney, Mr. Harrison. He knows the full story. Now here's what I need you to do. Don't tell Bradley about any of this. Wait and see what he does. I think I know, but I want you to see it clearly. The house we've lived in, I'm leaving to Bradley in my will. Let him have it. Let him think he's won. When the time is right, when you see who he really is, then you'll move to your new home. The key I gave you opens the front door. Go see it when you're ready. Start your new life without bitterness. I love you, Chris. I always will. Be free. Be happy. That's all I ever wanted for you. Your Dorothy. I read the letter 3 times. Tears blurred the words, but I kept reading. My wife, even while dying, had protected me. She'd seen what was coming and built me an escape route. The money from her aunt explained how she'd managed it. I vaguely remembered Aunt Helen, a stern woman who'd visited once or twice. I'd had no idea she'd left Dorothy anything. The weight of it hit me all at once. Dorothy had carried this secret for 5 years, planned everything while fighting cancer, made sure I'd be taken care of while letting Bradley reveal his true nature. She'd given me both security and truth. I folded the letter carefully and put it back in the envelope. Then I sat in the dark living room and cried for the 2nd time since Dorothy got sick. Not from grief this time, from gratitude, from overwhelming love for a woman who'd thought of everything. The meeting with Mr. Harrison took place the following Wednesday. His office was downtown in an older building with brass fixtures and dark wood paneling, the kind of place that felt serious and permanent. Bradley insisted on attending. I didn't object. Mr. Harrison was around 60, with silver hair and wire-rimmed glasses. He shook my hand with genuine sympathy. I'm very sorry for your loss, Mr. Chris. Dorothy was a remarkable woman. Thank you. Bradley shifted impatiently in his chair. Should we get started? I have a meeting at 2. Mr. Harrison's expression cooled slightly, but he nodded. He opened a folder and began reading Dorothy's will aloud. It was straightforward. Personal items were left to me, her jewelry to be kept for any future granddaughters, and the house at our current address was left entirely to Bradley. I watched my son's face as the attorney read that part. Relief flooded his features. His shoulders relaxed. He glanced at Amanda, who squeezed his hand. So the house is mine? Bradley asked. Clear and simple. Yes, Mr. Harrison confirmed. Your mother left the property to you with no conditions or restrictions. What about Dad? The question surprised me. For a moment I thought maybe there was still some concern there. Some small piece of the boy who used to hug me good night. Your father has lifetime residency if he chooses, Mr. Harrison said. Though as owner, you would be responsible for taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Bradley's expression shifted. I could practically see him doing math. Right, of course. However, Mr. Harrison continued, there are some personal effects and accounts that Mrs. Dorothy left specifically to your father. Those are handled separately, and aren't part of this estate distribution." "What kind of accounts?" Amanda asked. "Private matters," Mr. Harrison said firmly. "Not part of the estate discussion." Bradley frowned but didn't push. He was too happy about the house. After we signed some papers, he stood to leave. "I'll call you later, Dad. We should talk about next steps." After they left, Mr. Harrison asked me to stay. He closed the door and returned to his desk. "Mrs. Dorothy asked me to speak with you privately. She wanted to make sure you understood her intentions. I read her letter." "Good." He pulled out another folder thicker than the first. "She set everything up very carefully. The second house is deeded solely to you. No one else has claim to it. The investment account is likewise in your name only. Bradley has no legal right to either asset." "Why did she leave him the house we lived in?" Mr. Harrison smiled sadly. "She told me she wanted to see what he'd do with it, whether he'd let you stay, help you maintain it, or try to cash out. She said whatever happened would tell you everything you needed to know about your son." "That's cruel." "Is it?" Mr. Harrison leaned back in his chair. "Or is it honest Mrs. Dorothy loved Bradley? But she wasn't blind to his faults. This way you'd see clearly without her influence, without hope clouding your judgment." I understood then. Dorothy hadn't been punishing Bradley. She'd been freeing me, giving me permission to see the truth and walk away without guilt. "There's one more thing," Mr. Harrison said. He handed me a business card. "If you need anything legal advice or otherwise, call me. Your wife paid my retainer for the next 5 years. She wanted to make sure you had support." I took the card throat tight. She thought of everything. She did. Mrs. Dorothy was perhaps the most thorough client I've ever had. And the kindest. He stood, extending his hand. "Be happy, Mr. Chris. That's what she wanted most." Over the next few days, Bradley called frequently. Always polite, always concerned. But every conversation eventually turned to the house. "Dad, have you thought about your long-term plans? That yard is a lot of work for one person. Property taxes keep going up." He visited twice, both times with Amanda. They'd walk through rooms pointing out things that needed updating. The carpet in the hallway showed wear. The bathroom fixtures were dated. The kitchen could use renovation. "If you decided to sell," Amanda said, during their second visit, "you could probably get a good price even without updating. Location is everything." "I'm not selling," I said. "This is my home." Bradley jumped in quickly. "Actually, Dad, technically it's my house now. I'm not kicking you out or anything, but we should be realistic about long-term arrangements." There it was, spoken aloud. I lived in my son's house now, not my own home. Dorothy had left me lifetime residency, but Bradley saw that as his generosity, not my right. "I'll figure something out," I told him. "No rush," he said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "Just something to think about." After they left, I sat alone and thought about the key in my pocket. I hadn't visited the house yet. Part of me was afraid it might not be real, afraid Dorothy's plan might have some flaw I couldn't see. But another part of me was ready to see what she'd built for me, ready to start the next chapter. That afternoon, I drove across town to Riverside Park. The address from Dorothy's letter led me to a quiet street lined with older homes. Nothing fancy, just well-maintained houses with small yards and established trees. I found number 47 halfway down the block. It was a single-story ranch-style house, painted pale blue with white trim. The yard was neat grass, recently mowed flower beds mulched for winter. A narrow driveway led to a one-car garage. Everything about it felt peaceful, manageable, mine. I used the key Dorothy had given me. It turned smoothly. The door opened onto a small entryway with hardwood floors. To the left was a living room with big windows overlooking the front yard. To the right, a hallway leading to what I assumed was the bedroom and bathroom. Straight ahead, I could see into a kitchen. Everything was clean. Furniture was minimal but comfortable. A couch and chair in the living room. A small dining table with 2 chairs. The kitchen had basic appliances, all fairly new. Someone had been maintaining this place, just like Dorothy promised. On the kitchen counter, I found another envelope. My name written in Dorothy's handwriting. Inside was a short note. "This is your new beginning, my love. Be happy here." I sat at the dining table and cried. Not sad tears this time. Relief. Wonder. Love for a woman who'd planned all this while dying. She'd given me an escape route, a fresh start, freedom from obligation and guilt. I spent an hour walking through the house. The bedroom was modest, just enough space for a bed and dresser. The bathroom had a walk-in shower, no tub, easier for someone my age. The backyard was small but sunny, with a covered patio and room for a garden. This was home. Not the house I'd lived in for 30 years. That place was full of memories, but it was also full of ghosts. This was somewhere Dorothy had chosen specifically for my future. Our future, she'd probably thought before the diagnosis. A place we'd retire to together. When that became impossible, she'd made sure I'd have it anyway. I locked up carefully before leaving. Drove back to the old house feeling lighter than I had in months. Bradley's visits didn't bother me anymore. Let him plan. Let him calculate. I knew something he didn't. I had somewhere to go. On the 7th day after the funeral, Bradley showed up unannounced. It was a Saturday morning. I was drinking coffee at the kitchen table reading the newspaper. He let himself in without knocking. "Dad, we need to talk." I looked up from the sports section. "Good morning to you too." He had the decency to look slightly embarrassed. "Sorry." "Morning." "Can I sit? It's your house." He flinched at that, but sat down across from me. For a minute he didn't say anything, just drummed his fingers on the table. Finally he took a breath. "Amanda and I have been discussing things. We think it's best if we sell this house." I set down my coffee cup carefully. "This is my home. I know it is, was. But Dad, be realistic. It's too much space for one person. The upkeep alone is expensive. Property taxes went up again this year. And honestly, the market is hot right now. We could get a really good price." I could get a good price," he corrected. "Look, I know this is hard, but Mom left the house to me. That makes these decisions mine to make. What about my lifetime residency?" He waved that away. "Sure, legally you could stay. But why would you want to rattling around in this big place, surrounded by sad memories? Wouldn't it be better to start fresh somewhere smaller?" I studied my son, looking for some sign of the boy I'd raised, the kid who'd climb onto my lap for bedtime stories, who'd beg me to play catch in the backyard. That boy was gone. In his place sat a man who saw his father as an obstacle to profit. Where would I go? Bradley relaxed, sensing victory. "We've actually looked into that. There's a nice studio apartment complex across town. Senior-friendly, good security. $600 a month, which is totally doable on your pension." $600 a month. A studio apartment. He wanted to move his father from a 3-bedroom house to a single room. I almost laughed. "When were you planning this sale? I've already got a buyer lined up. Cash offer, no contingencies. They want to close fast." "How fast?" 3 weeks. The coffee turned sour in my stomach. 3 weeks. Not even a month after burying his mother, Bradley had already found a buyer. Had probably been looking before Dorothy was even cold in the ground. So I have 3 weeks to pack up 30 years of life. I know it seems quick. He didn't sound apologetic, just rushed, eager. But the buyers are motivated. They're offering $475,000. After commission and closing costs, I'll clear about $440,000. He said the number with pride, like he'd accomplished something difficult. Meanwhile, his father sat across from him, being told to pack up and leave. Of course the money is mine, he added, since the house was left to me. But don't worry, we'll help you move. Maybe even cover your first month's rent at the new place. Cover my first month's rent, $600, after pocketing $440,000 from selling my home. The generosity was staggering. Amanda appeared in the doorway then. I hadn't heard her come in. Is he taking it okay? She asked Bradley. My son nodded. He understands it's for the best. She smiled at me, the kind of smile you give a child who's finally behaving. This is actually exciting, Dad. A fresh start for everyone. Oh, we should tell him about our house. Not now, Bradley said quickly. But Amanda was already talking. We're buying a bigger place, 5 bedrooms in that new development on the east side, the one with the golf course. We've had our eye on it forever, but we couldn't quite afford the down payment. But now, with the sale of this house, we can finally do it. The truth crystallized instantly. They weren't selling because I needed a smaller place. They were selling because they needed the money. My home was being sacrificed so they could upgrade to a mansion. Congratulations, I said flatly. Bradley shot his wife an annoyed look. We would have bought something eventually. This just speeds up the timeline. Right, and your father being homeless is just a convenient coincidence. He won't be homeless, Amanda snapped. We found him that apartment. A studio, $600 a month. After I'd raised their father, put him through college, never asked for anything back. This was my reward. An efficiency apartment and pushed away guilt. I need time to think, I said. Sure, of course. Bradley stood. But Dad, the timeline is tight. The buyers want to close in 3 weeks. You need to start packing soon, like this weekend. I'll manage. Good. That's good. He paused at the door. This is the right decision. You'll see. Less stress, less responsibility. You can just relax and enjoy retirement. In a studio apartment, alone, while my son lived in a 5-bedroom house bought with my displacement. Sure. Relaxing. After they left, I sat in the kitchen for a long time. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I thought about calling Bradley back, telling him what I really thought. But Dorothy's voice echoed in my memory. Let it play out. Watch what he does. Now I'd seen it. Crystal clear. No ambiguity. No room for excuses. Bradley valued money over family. Amanda was even worse. Together they'd looked at Dorothy's death and seen opportunity. Nothing more. I pulled out my phone and called Mr. Harrison. I'm ready to move forward with Mrs. Dorothy's plan, I told him. Are you certain? He asked gently. Completely. Then I'll prepare the documents. Consider it done. That night I started packing. Not frantically. Not with anger. Just methodically sorting through 3 decades of accumulated life. I took photos of Dorothy, our wedding album, a few of her favorite books, some kitchen items I'd need, clothes, my tools from the garage. Everything meaningful fit into maybe a dozen boxes. The rest was just stuff. Furniture Dorothy and I had picked out together, but it was still just furniture. Dishes we'd eaten off for years, but they were replaceable. What mattered was leaving, starting over in the house Dorothy had prepared. That was the gift, not stuff. Freedom. Over the next 2 weeks, I moved everything in careful loads. Bradley stopped by twice to check progress. He seemed pleased I was cooperating, probably relieved he wouldn't have to force the issue. "You're handling this really well, Dad," he said during his second visit. "I'm proud of you." Proud, like I was a child learning to share. I smiled and nodded, carrying another box to my truck. Let him think whatever he wanted. Let him believe he'd won. Amanda came once, walking through the house with her phone out, taking photos again. "Before pictures," she explained, "for the new owners. They want to see everything as is." Sure. Before pictures. Not staging photos for their social media. Not bragging material about their real estate savvy. I bit my tongue and kept packing. The house I was moving to slowly filled up with my things. I bought a few new items, a bed that fit the smaller bedroom, a kitchen table that worked in the space. I hung Dorothy's favorite painting above the couch, set up her books on a small shelf, made it feel like home. Nobody knew where I was going. Bradley asked once, and I told him I'd found a place. He didn't ask for details, didn't offer to help me move despite his earlier promise, didn't even ask if I needed money. He was too busy planning his new house, too excited about his windfall. The day before closing, I did a final walkthrough of the old house. Empty rooms echoed. Bare walls showed rectangles where pictures had hung. The kitchen counter, which had always been cluttered with Dorothy's things, was completely clear. It didn't feel like home anymore. Just a building. A shell. I locked the door and dropped the key in the mailbox for Bradley. Drove away without looking back. That chapter was done. Closing day arrived. I didn't attend. Mr. Harrison handled everything remotely. Around noon, he called to tell me it was finished. The house belonged to Bradley's buyers. The money had transferred to his account. An hour later, Bradley called. "Hey, Dad, just wanted to let you know everything went through. I've got the check. Pretty exciting. I'm happy for you. So where's this new place of yours? We should come see it. Help you get settled." "I'm already settled. But thanks for the offer." Silence on the other end. Then, "You sound different." "Do I? Yeah, I don't know. Lighter, maybe. I guess the move is good for you." "It is. Very good. Well, if you need anything, you know where to find me." Except I didn't. Not really. Bradley was a stranger now. Someone who looked like my son but lacked everything that mattered. Compassion, loyalty, basic human decency. Dorothy had freed me from the obligation to pretend otherwise. "Take care of yourself, Bradley." "You too, Dad." I hung up and looked around my small living room. Sunlight streamed through the windows. I could hear birds in the backyard. The house was quiet, but not lonely. Peaceful. Mine. That evening I sat on the back patio with a beer. The sky turned purple and pink as the sun set. I thought about Dorothy, about all the years we'd spent together, about how she'd loved me enough to plan for a future she wouldn't share, about how she'd given me permission to let go of the son we'd raised, but lost somewhere along the way. I missed her, would always miss her. But I wasn't drowning in grief anymore. I was floating, moving forward, living the life she'd wanted for me. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Bradley. "Dad, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The new house, the one we bought. The financing fell through at the last minute. Some issue with the appraisal. We're trying to sort it out, but we might need to borrow some money. Just short term. Maybe 20 or 30,000. I almost laughed. I don't have that kind of money. But your pension and maybe some savings. My pension covers my bills. I don't have extra. Come on, Dad. This is important. We're about to lose our dream house. I'm sorry to hear that. You're not going to help us. I took a breath, chose my words carefully. Bradley, you sold the house I lived in to fund your dream. You gave me 3 weeks to leave. You offered to cover 1 month's rent, $600, after pocketing $440,000. Now you want me to loan you money. That's different. This is family. Exactly. It is family, and family doesn't treat each other the way you treated me. Dad, don't be like this. I'm not being any way. I simply don't have money to loan. You made your choices. Now you live with them. He sputtered something about ingratitude and obligation, but I'd already stopped listening. Eventually, he hung up. He called back twice over the next week. I didn't answer. He left voicemails that started angry and became pleading. I deleted them without listening all the way through. 6 months have passed since Dorothy died. 6 months since Bradley sold my home and moved me out of his life. 6 months since I discovered the gift she'd left me. I wake up each morning in my small house near Riverside Park. I make coffee and sit in the backyard watching sunrise paint the sky. I've started a garden, something Dorothy always wanted. Tomatoes are coming in nicely. The peppers need more sun, but they're trying. I've made friends with the neighbors. Couple in their 60s to the left, retired teacher on the right. We have dinner sometimes. Nothing fancy. Just company and conversation. They know I'm a widower. They don't pry. They just include me in their lives, which is kindness enough. The money Dorothy left is carefully invested. I take what I need monthly and leave the rest to grow. I don't live extravagantly, never have. But I'm comfortable, secure, not dependent on anyone. I heard through old neighbors that Bradley and Amanda did buy their house eventually. Had to get a bigger mortgage than they wanted. Payments are tight. They fight about money, apparently. Stress cracks showing in their marriage. I don't feel glad about that. Just sad. Sad that my son chose this path. He called once more about a month ago. His voice was different, older, tired. Dad, I think I made a mistake. About what? The house. Moving you out. All of it. Amanda says I was too harsh, that I should have handled things differently. Amanda said that, yeah, she's been thinking about when her parents get older, about how she'd want her brother to treat them. She realized we didn't treat you very well. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd get. I appreciate you calling. Can we see you? Come visit your new place. Not yet, Bradley. I need more time. How much time? I don't know. Maybe a lot. Maybe we'll get there eventually. But right now I'm still healing. Still figuring out who I am without your mother. Without the life I had before. I understand. He paused. Do you hate me? No, I don't hate you. But I don't recognize you either. Somewhere along the way you became someone I don't know. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe your mother's. Maybe it's just who you are. Either way, I need space to process that. Okay, I'll give you space. But Dad, I am sorry. For what it's worth. It's worth something. Not everything, but something. We haven't talked since. Maybe we will again someday. Maybe not. I'm learning to be okay with uncertainty. learning that family doesn't always mean what you think it should mean, that sometimes the people who love you most aren't related by blood. Every morning I think about Dorothy, about her quiet strength, about how she saw what was coming and built me a lifeboat. She could have told Bradley everything, could have divided the inheritance more fairly, could have forced him to include me. Instead, she gave me something more valuable: truth, clarity, freedom. Sometimes I talk to her sitting in the garden she never got to see. "You were right," I tell her, "about all of it. Thank you for knowing what I'd need. Thank you for loving me enough to let me see clearly." The wind rustles the tomato plants. Birds sing in the trees. The sun warms my face, and I feel her answer in all of it, not in words, just in peace, in this life she built for me, in the quiet certainty that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm 67 now. Got maybe another 20 years if I'm lucky. I plan to spend them here in this small house with big windows. I'll tend my garden, read books Dorothy loved, make new memories that don't hurt. Maybe eventually I'll reconcile with Bradley. Maybe I won't. Either way, I'll be okay. Because Dorothy taught me the final lesson, that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a key pressed into your hand, a letter written in secret, a house bought quietly and held until needed. Sometimes love is giving someone permission to walk away, to start over, to be free. I learned that silence can be powerful, that watching and waiting reveals truth better than confrontation, that sometimes the best response is no response at all. Just a smile, a packed bag, a new beginning. Bradley thought he won when he sold that house, thought he'd outsmarted everyone cashed in on his inheritance. What he actually did was prove his mother right, showed me exactly who he'd become, and freed me from the obligation to pretend otherwise. So yeah, I kept quiet about the second house, about the $480,000, about Dorothy's careful planning. And I'm glad I did, because staying silent gave me something priceless. It gave me truth, dignity, and a chance to build a life on my own terms. If you've ever had to protect yourself by staying quiet, if you've ever watched someone show their true colors while saying nothing, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story. And if this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes we all need reminding that it's okay to walk away, that we don't owe anyone our pain. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope wherever you are, whoever you're dealing with, you find your own version of peace, your own small house with big windows, your own garden in the sun. Take care of yourselves. You deserve it.